With Molly now back in the water for another season, this is how the winter refit unfolded. What started as a few simple winter jobs soon turned into rebuilding fittings, rewiring the mast and major sail repairs. We dropped Molly's mast while she was afloat on her mooring, shortly before she was lifted out of the water. At our club, we were able to lift the boats ourselves, using our tractor and Rudberg trailer. It's a great team effort. Once she was ashore for the winter, it was time to decide what jobs really needed doing. A task I considered was to renew the coppercoat anti-foul. Molly is 10 years old now, and the coppercoat which she had from new is not performing as well as it used to. However, with our launch date in early March, I didn't want to risk the weather being too cold or wet to do the job properly. This turned out to be a really good decision, as last winter was very wet. There were a number of other jobs that definitely did need doing though. The first of these was to sort out the nav and deck lights, which were just not bright enough. This was despite me having replaced them at the beginning of last season. Click the link on screen to see how we did that. The fittings I'd used were poor quality, so I spent some time sourcing better replacements. The problem was that the available fittings were designed for modern aluminium masts, not Molly's much more curved wooden mast. The only alternative units I could find are designed to be attached to a flat surface. I decided to make a wooden bracket with a flat front for the lights and a curved back to match the mast. A suitable piece of hardwood was found in my garage hoard, so I had the materials, but sadly neither the skill nor the appropriate tools. Luckily, my neighbour at home is a keen woodworker and volunteered to create such a difficult, for me, shape. He cut the block square on his table saw and then shaped the curved back with a series of careful cuts. Once he chiselled off all the waste strips, the sanding began. I took the piece to the boat and used the mast itself to fair the curve for a perfect shape. After quite a bit of elbow grease, I was very happy with the fit. Once the bracket was varnished and fitted to the mast, I sealed it with a butyl mastic so that I could varnish over it. I also combined the separate deck and nav light wiring into a single 3-core cable. This freed up a deck plug at the base of the tabernacle and created more space inside the mast. That gave me room for the new wind instrument wiring. Molly also needed a new VHF antenna because the previous one fell off and landed on Nicky's head as we entered Poole Harbour last summer. The other important aspect of the winter work involved needlework. You saw earlier that Molly has a rather wonderful mast cover which protects the woods from the elements while the mast is down during the winter. My wonderful wife made this 2 years ago and I persuaded her to help again this winter. After attending a sail maintenance course together, she agreed to take on another major sewing project, something that would have been very expensive if completed professionally. The highest priority job was replacing the UV strips on the 2 jibs. We received a lot of useful advice on our sail maintenance course, and the tutor was able to provide us with the proper materials. Having carefully used a stitch cutter to remove the old very faded UV strips, the new pieces were attached to the sail along the leech and foot using double-sided sticky tape. The new UV strip was cut a little wider than the previous one so that the new stitching was not over the old, which could have weakened the sail. Then, using a decent quality domestic sewing machine, the strips are stitched into place. After several hours of methodical work, the jibs have been given a new lease of life. The next task was to replace the cracked windows in our Sprayhood.
Right.
So, first thing is to draw round this onto the new plastic.
How do you do that?
So basically you lie this plastic on top
Yeah.
and draw round it.
Okay.
But to try and get this as flat as possible. Go this way because it's really...
Yeah. We get another one out of this plastic.
Yeah.
So even if it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So how much of an overlap do you need?
So it doesn't particularly matter because you trim it
Trim it.
afterwards. So
You're going to this is the tape you're going to take off?
Yes, but I don't think the window is sewn on independently. So what I'm going to do is lift this first one,
Just have a look.
sew the new window on, and then fold this back and sew that back on.
Okay.
What you don't want to do is take the window out before you've got the new one on.
Yes, That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that.
So I think I'm going to draw around the window and then cut it larger.
Around the aperture.
Yeah. So I know I've got to cut it about an inch larger than this.
We're replacing the transparent window in the Sprayhood. Well, I say we. One of the things that my marvellous wife, who knows about such things, has told me is it's really important not to remove the old window before you've stitched on the new one. So we've just drawn round the aperture size for the new window, and then Nikki's going to cut that with quite a big extra overlap so that it can be trimmed later. So what's the basic process?
So I'm going to unstitch the top row, or unpick this top row of the cover, and just have a look how the window's attached underneath. I think it's just stuck on underneath, in which case I'll leave this attached by the bottom stitching. Attach the new window with tape, sew it on, trim it, and then fold this tape back over and re-stitch the tape on. So it should still have the tape covering it. And then once the new window is in, from the other side, I'll cut the old window out. So the only thing I've got to do is remember to make a hole in the old window so that I've got access into it, so I don't have to try and cut between the two new layers and risk cutting the new layer. So that's the plan.
What could possibly go wrong?
Could possibly go wrong.
And you're using the Beast.
Yes, I'm using the industrial sewing machine. Okay, so I'm just taking this strip off that seals the old window in. I don't want the old window to come out, so if it's a bit loose, I'm just sticking the old window back in, because the aim is to put the new window on top of the old one and then cut the old one away. But I thought it would be neater to do it like this, so that's what I'm up to. It's going to take a few hours to get this out and get the new one aligned.
Nikki's final job was to give the mainsail cover some TLC.
So I have replaced this panel on the sail cover because it was completely ripped to pieces. So that's been replaced with a new drawstring. I've renewed lots of the stitching, which had basically rotted through. I have patched a few places. Let's see if I can find a patch. Some threads to cut. So I've re-stitched all of this that had basically come apart. And then further up here, I re-stitched the Velcro on that had torn off. And I put some patches on where the shrouds had ripped holes in the cover. So I've patched somewhere else as well. Where there's another hole. So that's basically what I've done. It's taken me most of the day.
Good job. Time well spent.
With launch day approaching, it was time to lift Molly's mast. The first task was to shift the mast in position and bolt it through the tabernacle prior to raising it. Last season we raised it with only 3 of us, but it's certainly easier with more people. We're lucky in our club that there are plenty of willing pairs of hands to help out.
It's got to be on your socials, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if it's not on your socials, it didn't actually happen.
Exactly.
That's it. Oh, I'm running. I'm not getting video.
Ready? Arms, ready, after 3. There we go, arms, yeah, straight arms. 1, 2,
Initially we lifted the mast by hand to a point where the bowsprit can act as a lever.
Transfer the steering duties, Nicky. Okay, can you pull away please?
At that point the main sheet tackle, attached to a secure point on the ground, is used to pull the bowsprit down, thereby lifting the mast by the staysail halyard. Additional helpers pull the shrouds to keep the mast on the centre line of the boat so the mast foot drops into the tabernacle.
Tell me if we can push one way or the other. Hold. Let it stabilise. Alright. Can you pull your side please? That's it, that's good. Hold it gently. There's a little load now.
I'm doing it.
No, you're not doing anything at all. I can almost push it now. Yeah.
You've got a backstay on, haven't you, Charles? Yeah?
There's no backstay.
Hang on, it's a backstay.
No backstay.
Don't push it too far then.
Don't go too far then.
He'll rest in the tabernacle, it's okay.
Right, okay.
Take the snack up, Nicky.
Right, that's it. We're bowsprit down. Well done, chaps. Time for a cup of tea. Jerry's holding it up. So.
Thank you ever so much. It's really, really helpful. It's so much easier when there's lots of people. We did it with 3 people last time, and it was.
Yeah. As long as they're all prepared to be Indians and not chiefs, Charles.
Yes.
Otherwise, I could see it turning into a right disaster.
Yeah, quite.
Jerry says you've got to spray all your varnish off, Charles.
You didn't put out the environmental impact form beforehand. I'm just going to keep smiling because my forestay is now on. Whatever you lot say to me, mast is now up.
Yeah, why is the rope just tangled up at the top of the mast?
I know. I'm just really hoping that it's going to be easy to untangle.
No, there isn't.
Once the forestay's up on,
There's nothing down.
it'll go. Yeah. Oh, I'm so pleased with how that went. Thank you ever so much.
Molly is now back on her berth. Let the 2026 season begin. If you are still watching, then thanks very much for sticking with us, and stay tuned for more meanderings coming soon.